and my axe. This, of course, Gimli's axe from the Lord of the Rings, from the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. Is that how we call it now, the original trilogy?
I'm fine with it, as opposed to the Hobbit series.
Yes,
right?
exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
Here with Brandon Allinger, here at Propstore, talking about their big entertainment memorabilia auction, March 12th, 13th,
And 14th.
and 14th. Uh, very exciting. This is a neat piece. This is Gimli's double-headed axe. This comes from, and you can kind of get in there, this is one of the ones, I guess, basically that was sent to Sideshow
As
so
reference.
as
Yep.
reference so that they could make theirs, the replicas that they sold, right? And then later on, these were sold at different times. I believe there were two different sizes of these, and that this is the sort of smaller dwarf size. So there's times where John Rhys Davies is playing him sort of full size, and that axe is a bigger axe.
Yeah.
And then there's times where they need him to look smaller next to the various humans, elves, and whatnot. And this would be the smaller version,
Right.
but certainly gorgeous, with all you would want in terms of the dwarven metallurgy and whatnot, the dwarven arts. Very, to me, the leather, just super recognizable. And one of the things that's so wonderful about those movies is they spent a lot of time, digging through obviously all of the Tolkien legend and lore to kind of really give each civilization, and then within the civilizations, different families and whatnot, everything has a very distinct look. So what you're sort of seeing here shows up in sort of other dwarven pieces, but is very much not distinctly Gimli, but very dwarf and of his stuff, which looks very different than the elven stuff, which is sort of shinier and more elegant, and et cetera, et cetera. And I just love that fact that Jackson went to that trouble. And I dig as I said, I dig the writing on it, and just that it places it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's great just that it tells its story now that we're, 22 years later.
Yes, exactly.
It's sort of fascinating provenance in itself.
Yeah, it's really fun. I've been showing these movies to my kids finally, which has been very, very fun to kind of revisit them.
They're into it.
Very into it. And this really jumps out. I mean, a heck of a performance, but I just think a very memorable weapon, obviously, which I just think is really cool. And then what do we got down here, speaking of weapons?
Yeah, so that is Tim Curry's sword from Legend.
Wow.
The Ridley Scott fantasy film from 1986 or 7, I believe.
Pick it up?
Yep,
all right.
Sure.
I know it's going to be lighter than I think, but not as light as I thought. But this is
maybe
giant.
The biggest sword in the auction?
Yeah, this is certainly huge. Obviously not made of whatever, stone or metal, but
I think it's
still
fiberglass.
Pretty cool. Yeah, really, really cool. Just so distinct looking. I don't remember the name of his character.
Darkness.
Darkness. Okay,
yes.
Very good. Yeah. As opposed to Evil and Time Bandits and whatever. But Darkness's sword, really, really great looking. I just love, what can you say, the size. Sometimes, I don't know. I don't want to make a bad joke, so whatever. But I just think this is really wonderful. I feel like Legend is having a little bit of a renaissance. I don't know, like as we've gotten farther away from it, and obviously Ridley Scott just keeps on going. People kind of check it out and kind of go like, "Oh, I didn't know it was so interesting."
It's sort of fascinating because it breaks the Tom Cruise mold. Is Tom Cruise not making Mission Impossible movies? It's
exactly.
It's very different.
That used to happen.
Right.
And I don't know, just a really wonderful, distinct, like key weapon, key movie, early Ridley Scott. I really, really do like it. Anyway, moving on. These are incredible. If you can remember, I'll start with the old History of the World Part 1. I give you these 10 commandments. These are 10 commandment tablets from the 10 Commandments, Cecil B. DeMille, Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston hosted Saturday Night Live when I was a writer there, which was wonderful. And we did ape stuff, and we did a Ten Commandments sketch, and they actually made his staff, and they made 10 Commandment tablets for us. I don't. A writer friend, Lou Morton, has those. He wrote the sketch. I didn't write the sketch. These are fabulous. I love. Oh, they're heavier than I thought. You want to grab the other one for a second? Although maybe I want to be like very Moses-like and kind of go like this. Yeah, because it's kind of how he comes down. Yeah, that's kind of a good shot. What's really interesting is these came from a studio executive, if I understand the story. They don't specifically, they're not screen matched per se, but you may be noticing the sort of difference, the different patina. And this is what you see in the movie, this sort of the different finishes. I don't know what we want to call it, but this is fascinating. And this goes to the story of the studio exec. These are sort of like almost like mounting points where you can probably see the guy had it on his wall, which I guess if I was the studio exec that made Ten Commandments.
Good trophy
yeah,
of the day.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I just think they are wonderful. They've got some heft to it. Once Upon a Time, a million years ago, this was a movie you had to watch by law, basically on like Easter Sunday. It was like Passover and Easter Sunday, and you would have no choice. This was the only thing on. It was like on ABC, and you had to watch it. There were no other channels. We had one channel. It was called ABC, and you had to watch the Ten Commandments. And just really, really cool. Interestingly enough, and this is sort of a funny thing that these things happen. Over here, we've got Mel Gibson's Claymore from Braveheart. And then obviously you can see this is Hebrew, or it may actually be Aramaic, but if my old Aramaic is working, it actually says, "Get the Mel Gibson sword away from the Ten Commandments, please." So that's a funny coincidence. All new episodes of The Stuff Dreams Are Made Of are available now wherever you get your podcasts.